Alright, YouTube, Team Me 2K here. By the way, my name is Bruce. I'm doing another video. What I'm going to talk about today is what I've been carrying for a little bit now. In other videos, I've told you guys that I always gravitate, back to the Glock. But I think my first love has always been the 1911 for a number of reasons. I shoot it well. The trigger leaves little room for error when it comes to trigger control. I mean, when you shoot for a while, you practice shooting, you become better with trigger control, you become better with shot placement, you just get better overall as a shooter. But with the 1911, the reason people have a tendency to be better shooters with the 1911 is because the trigger is so good that you don't flinch, even with the 45 caliber, which I don't think is a very snappy round. I think the 40 and the 10 millimeter are snappier, but you have less room for error in terms of trigger control as opposed to, say, a Glock trigger or a Smith & Wesson trigger, or like an M&P or something like that. So what I have today, I have a 1911 that I've been carrying for a while now, and that 1911 is something that's fairly new on the market. Let me just take the mag out. Safe. That 1911 is the Para Expert Carry. This gun is a 3-inch barrel, max grade trigger, beaver tail, skeletonized hammer, fiber optic front sight, 2-dot rear, and that big bore 45. It's a 45 caliber. This gun, I guess, hit the market in mid 2013, and it has an aluminum frame. Some of the things, there's no rail for accessories. I'm not big into that. Even though I can be tactical at times, I just don't put a bunch of stuff on my guns for a couple of reasons. I'll get into that in a later video. But it has Hogue scrimshaw grips on it. I like IB grips. I got these grips a long time ago. The great thing about this gun, it's a full-size frame, 1911 frame, but then it only has the 3-inch barrel and slide. Now, they say, I haven't weighed this gun, but they say this gun is 38 ounces. I don't believe that. Maybe loaded with 8 230 grain 45 ACP rounds, but this gun is very light. Now, the 1911 in general has a narrow frame to begin with, so I always carry inside the waistband, so it feels very comfortable to me. The only thing is, with the full-size frame, 1911 frame, it pokes out, and then when you bend over, or you're sliding over, it has a tendency to stick out in the back. But I compensate with that by having the holster closer to my side as opposed to in the small of my back. This gun I got for about $600. Now, what you get with this gun, as opposed to, I have Kimbers, I have 6-hour 1911s, Kimber 1911s. What you get, I have I have a video on the Kimber Warrior, Desert Warrior. I have a video on the Scorpion 6-hour 1911, and the features on this gun. Because out the box, I mean, I put these grips on here, the scrimshaw grips, the whole grips. the max grade trigger, the skeleton notch hammer, the beaver tail, the high vis front sight, out the box is what you get. Now, one of the great things I like about this, and the reason that I really don't, people have problems with 1911s, is that they say that they're real finicky in terms of shooting ammo. Well, the great thing about this gun, the Para, and now, they're made in North Carolina. Para, I think originally was out of Canada. And I had a Warthog, a P10 a long time ago. And the gun, in terms of quality control, it just wasn't there. The action on this gun is silky smooth. It's comparable to my Kimbers, my 6 Hour. The Kimber is notorious from the factory. It's super tight. This gun is tight, but not to the point where it does any damage to the frame. Kimbers are so tight, once you shoot them for a while, you can see where there's shavings coming off the frame rails. You can see where the slide has contact with the frame because the tolerances are so tight. With this gun, the tolerances are tight, but the quality control, since it's been being produced in North Carolina, are that much better. There are some features on this gun that I think are going to bring the 1911 compact back to the forefront. Like I told you, I gravitate back towards the Glock all the time, and this is a Glock 30 compact 45 ACP. This gun I carry all the time for a long time, but if you look at the thickness of the frame, because of that big bore round inside the waistband, that thing, you feel it. Even though the gun is 28 ounces with just a magazine and about 33 ounces with a loaded 10-round magazine, I'm a pretty big guy. I'm like 6'3", and I could carry pretty much any kind of weapon from subcompact to, or baby Glocks to full-size 1911s. You feel this after a while if you carry all day like I do. This gun, it says that the gun is 38 ounces, but that's close to the weight of a full-size steel frame 1911. I'll weigh it, but there's no way that this gun is 38 ounces. In hand, the Glock almost feels heavier. Now, again, this has an aluminum frame, all right, super light, and a 3-inch barrel and slide to go along with that. The slide's not 3 inches, but it's the barrel's 3 inches. So it's a very, normally a shortened up 1911 is like 4.5 or 4 inches. But with the full size frame, you could get an 8-round magazine. All right, then you can even use an extended 1911 magazine which holds 10, and then you got one in the chamber, and that's the way I have it by the nightstand. But this gun is lighter in terms of feel than the Glock. All right, but I've been carrying this, and it feels so comfortable because of the thin slide inside the waistband and how light it is. It just feels awesome. Again, some of the features with this gun, and again, this is a Para, it was called Para Ordnance, back in the day. It's now being made in North Carolina. The fit and finish is pretty freaking awesome, and I've been holstering it and practicing with it to get used to the ergos of carrying a 1911 again. Of course, you have the safety's only on one side. It's not ambidextrous, but very positive feedback. Aluminum frame, stainless steel slide, matched 3-inch barrel, matched trigger, skeletonized hammer, full beaver tail. It has a, for those who know, it has 80 series slide, as opposed to the 70 series slide of other 1911s, which is simpler, but there's an issue with the hammer drop, so you drop the gun, and the hammer falls, it may set the, there's no fire and pin block. There's a fire and pin block on this, but on the 70 series, I don't think there's a fire and pin block. But I've been carrying this a lot, and I'm a huge fan of the 1911. One of the other great features about this gun, the breakdown of this gun, because there's no recoil, bolt, or like a the two, I can't think of the name right now, but on 1911s you have a hub in the front that you have to twist that holds the recoil spring and guide rod in place. This doesn't have that. This actually has something that looks similar to, if you can see it in there, a Glock guide rod, or you know, like a polymer gun guide rod and spring. And as a matter of fact, the takedown of the gun is almost the same. You push the pin out, you line them up like you would any other 1911. Take the pin out, frame slides right off. You have the frame, which again, I've put about 500 rounds through this gun, and there's no marring, no telltale signs of wear anywhere, as a matter of fact, which is pretty cool. Here's the recoil spring. Looks almost like a Glock recoil spring and guide rod, and it's a dual spring. There's a bushing, what I couldn't think of before. Here's the bushing for the spring, but as you can see, it's hollow, and that's how the guide rod and the spring are retained. The barrel comes out just like any other 1911, out the front. Here are the locking hubs. You can see that thick max grade barrel, 45 ACP, big bore, and it goes together the same way. Now, on my Kimber, there's a similar, I have a Kimber Ultra Carry, but it has a pin, or it looks like almost like a paper clip that you have to stick in to hold the recoil spring back so you could pull it out. This is this, you know, the same way you put the bushing hub back in. The recoil spring is retained by that. It's as simple as putting a Glock back together, just without, you have more pieces. You line up the bolt, or the not the bolt, but the barrel ring. Once that's done, you line up the holes again. And that's it. It's back together. If you can see it, it's a little oily, and I cleaned it just recently from a day at the range. But this gun, accuracy is just like any other 1911. It's a little bit lighter, but I don't feel any difference in terms of shooting a full-size 1911 as opposed to this 3H 1911. I like it a lot. I've been carrying it for a while. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of the 1911. And one other thing I didn't show you guys while I had the barrel out, but you may be able to see it here, is that it has a ramped barrel. That's huge in terms of feeding hollow points. 1911s are notorious for not being able to feed properly anything but round nose, 230 grain. With this, I've shot anything. This is Spear Gold Dot. I shoot, this is the Winchester Elite. I've shot everything through this gun without any problems, any kind of malfunctions. The gun cycles perfectly. And the other thing great about, I have a Kimber that doesn't, well, none of the Kimbers really, maybe one Kimber has the ramp barrel, but most of my Kimbers, you know, with the aluminum frame, the frame is a part of the feeding ramp. And the problem with that is it starts to mar if you don't keep the frame polished where the ramp is in terms of the barrel. It starts to mar the frame, and then you start getting malfunctions because it won't feed properly. With this, you don't have that problem. That ramped barrel aids in the reliability of, you know, feeding rounds. So the features for what I paid for this weapon and what you get are unbelievable. And the quality control involved now is awesome as well. So here's a good look at it. Like I said, it doesn't come with these grips. It actually comes with plastic para-ordnance grips. I put these grips on because I like ivory, the smooth. It has the etching actually on here is textured, so you get a good purchase on it. Everyone says, oh, what if your hands are wet or bloody or whatever? Well, I could get a good purchase on it. There's no stippling or anything on the front. There's some texturing on the back where the main spring housing is. But other than that, it's a basic frame for a 1911. And the gun feels awesome in hand. Very easy to shoot. That high-vis front sight is awesome. It's green, so you pick it up really, really fast. Out the box, there was no adjustment. Shot really well. Comes with a